We Poets. My name is Sally Baker, and I'm the host of We Poets. We Poets is a poetry show for boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 13. But we're doing a new series of programs called Battlefield Poets with veterans returning back from the war, and I'm interviewing them about their experiences and agencies that help these veterans to make a transition back to normal life. Tonight, our veteran was ill and could not come, but we have a very special lady here tonight who works at San Francisco College, and she's also involved with the City College of San Francisco Veterans Alliance, and she's going to tell us what this wonderful agency does to help our veterans. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Ms. Carol Fregly. Hi, Carol.
It is such a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you especially for your interest in what it is that we're doing with the veterans, and for your support as a community television station for this kind of activity, because veterans coming back right now need as much community support as they can get, and it has to come from a lot of different places. So this is a nice way to get the word out, and we are very grateful to you for making that possible.
Well, thank you. Now, I have a nice list of questions here for you. My first question is, give us your name again, your title, and your agency that you're working with to help veterans.
My name is Carol Fregly, and I am actually an English teacher at City College of San Francisco. The agency affiliation that we have is we have a Veterans Alliance, which was made up by veterans primarily returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, but there are also many veterans from Vietnam who have come back to school. And the college, when we realized that we had such a large number of veterans enrolling, decided that we should provide some real support services to help them succeed in their classes at City College. One thing that we became very, very fortunate to have was an affiliation with the San Francisco Veterans Administration Hospital, and they now have people who come to our campus and provide us with more support from their own agency, which is wonderful, because what they do is they bring the services to our students. They have an office on our campus, so there's a drop-in psychological counseling area. We also, on the college, have a separate area that's right next door to the Veterans Alliance's lounge that has registration, financial aid, benefits, and counseling that's specific to the veterans. So one of the great things about the program is the Veterans Alliance has become a part of City College, which makes sense because it's a community college and the veterans are not very much a part of our community.
Right.
So, you know, it would make sense that the community college would be the first agency that these people would come to as students, because many of them have been away for a while, they're coming back, they want to use their veterans benefits, they're not sure what they want to major in. It doesn't make sense for them to try to enroll in a four-year school right away, because they need some more development and maybe time to get adjusted to what's going on. And City College provides that opportunity, and I'm so happy to be part of that.
Isn't that wonderful? Now, how long have you been involved with this particular project?
I just formally got involved this year, but I've had veterans in my class for about the last 5 years. And interestingly, I became involved because the veterans told me that they had specific needs, that when they would be in my class, they would say, oh, I like night classes because it's 3 hours long and I'm commuting from Sacramento, and I can come to the school and I can take all my classes in one day. And I was like, what, you come here? And they said, oh yes, we have to manage our time because we need to do other things, and some of the people who are still in the reserves get called away on the weekends. So it's really great to know them as students, and then to hear them say, we need this, we need this. And then because I'm a faculty member and I've been there since 1976, I would know where to go. Where they wouldn't know, they would tell me what they need, then I'd go and find the person. And the people we have on the college, I'm one of the co-advisors. The other co-advisor is Dr. Fred Chavarria, and he's a dean. And then there's another advisor who's actually does this not full-time because he has another job. He's the Dean of Student Services. That's Dr. Samuel Los Santos. And among the three of us, if I can't figure out what to do to get them what they need, the other person can. And we meet with the veterans about once a month, and then they come in with what they need and what we can help them with, and then we go off and try to make it happen. Good. So it's not, I mean, it's a real team effort on our part. We want the veterans to succeed. Good, we want them to, I think, feel comfortable, and we want them to feel as if the campus is their support until they get to the next point in their lives when they're feeling ready to move on. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good thing. It gives them a sort of a cushion. Good. About what's the average age of the veterans who are coming into college? It's surprising because they're very young. Yes. I think that's the thing that surprised me the most. When I first started getting veterans in my class, I wasn't sure that they were even veterans because they just looked like regular, regular college students. And I think that's why at the time I wasn't sure, that they needed anything more than regular college students needed. And until they gave me the opportunity to know what they needed, I wasn't really aware that they were different from any of the other regular students, mm-hmm. because they're young. Yes. And they, they have all the same concerns and needs that young students have, but they've been in situations where they've had to act very mature and very responsible. Good. And of course, you have more men than women veterans. Yes, right? But we have a large number of women veterans, which is surprising, and they're the ones that I did not recognize at all as veterans, because two of them were moms, and they would talk to me more about their children. Yes. And I think at the end of the semester, I found out that they were veterans, and then I was like, one of them was in the Air Force, and actually was a parachute person jumping out of planes. Yeah, jumping out of planes. And I was like, what? And yet, when she's in the pre-nursing program, and she wants to be a nurse, and she has a child. And so, I think what the thing with veterans is, like with all of our students, they're veterans, but they're also students, but they're also parents, and they're also boyfriends and girlfriends. Yes. And so they have these multiple roles. And the Veterans Alliance, which is our organization that the veterans started, is great because what it gives them is a place that they can be veterans. Yes. And they can talk about their needs there as veterans. Then they go off and they're, somebody's mother, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, but in that particular area. And that, the Veterans Resource Center, which is the lounge, is right next to the area that provides the benefits and the financial aid. And so it's great because the lounge is kind of informal, and then the other area is academic and formal, in that they can get what they need to succeed at the school. So there's also a study area and a computer area there, so that they can use the lounge to study and to sort of research things for their classes. Good. And yeah. Now, does the college ever give these veterans free computers? Well, this area is free to them to be used, and this area offers them the opportunity to have a place where they can sort of network among themselves also while they're doing the computer activities. But I think the best thing for them is the camaraderie and the fellowship that they get being, like, I set up tutoring for them. We have an English tutor, a writing tutor who comes there and works with them. He also works in the regular writing lounge, the writing lab rather. And they weren't using him at the writing lab, but they will use him if he comes to the Veterans Lounge. And it's kind of interesting because he's there, I mean, he's doing the same thing there he does in the other place, but it's just he comes to them, and somehow that place has become like a little home away from home for a lot of people, and they use the services there, including the computers. There are computers all over the campus. But they use those computers because they're there. Isn't that something? Yeah. Now, do you ever have open house so people can come and see what's going on and maybe become volunteers or donate just money or articles? All the above. All the above. Could you tell us about that? Yes. One of the things that's very nice is that I wish one of the veterans had come to represent the Alliance better, because I'm just talking as the advisor. But what they do is they set up open houses, and people come. And many, many people from the community, military people like General Mayap that you met at our event, and people, even the man from Craigslist, Craig Newmark, is that his name? Came and talked to them and said, okay, what can we do to help you? And I think it's great for them to have people come and say, what can we do, or how can we get involved?
Yes.
Because I think that also gives people from the community a real base of real people that they're looking at and talking to, as they did for me. And then the veterans say, we need this, or we'd like this, how can you help us, or what can we do to make this happen? And the best part of that, I think, for everybody is you read statistics in the paper, you hear stories, but until you meet people, it's like everything else. It's not real. Mm-hmm. Then you meet people and you go, you know.
Put a face to them.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Isn't
So
that something?
that's the community. I think we would like to do more community outreach. The biggest problem is, of course, time, because the veterans, because they have to take so many units in a semester, and I think some of them are taking like 20 units. Oh. They try to do everything, mm-hmm. and they try really hard to keep their classwork up to standard, but they're also at the same time trying to, you know, be involved in the Veterans Alliance, and we don't have paid people, so there's a lot of volunteering. They volunteer to sit at the desk, they volunteer to help other veterans who are coming in, and so I think the time thing is the hardest, mm-hmm. and you know, for all of us, mm-hmm. they're totally overextended like we all are.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, one other question, since the holidays are here, do you find that the veterans become more depressed because maybe some of them don't have families, and there's a more increase of maybe suicide, or
you know, it's a question I don't know actually the answer to, mm-hmm. but because we have the Veterans Administration with a support staff, we have 2 psychiatrists, good. And we have social workers and psychologists who come to the campus for the drop-in. I have talked to them a lot at length, mm-hmm. many times, about the psychological things that most of the veterans go through. Right. And there's a great concern, just in general, that a lot of people may come back and feel somewhat alienated. Yes. And I think that for a lot of the veterans to have other veterans, like even in the classes, what I've noticed is if 2 veterans take a class together, mm-hmm. they succeed better.
Wonderful. If
more than 2 take a class together, they succeed. Mm-hmm. I think the psychological thing that you're asking me, it's not so much holidays, it's the fact that the veterans who come to the school are trying really hard to fit in, but they are still part of something that they used to be involved in. And so it's like they need to feel that there are people around them who understand them.
Yes.
And that's why I'm so grateful for the Veterans Administration providing these services. I know the college was just thrilled when we made this arrangement, because they can provide things for the students that we can't.
Right, right.
And the psychological stuff is always, yes, it's always something that we would worry about. Yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Now, do you find that many of the veterans have pets? And maybe if they're alone, they might have pets to help them have somebody there in their house when they come home at night.
Sally, that's such a great question. There is a program that I did not know about that one of my students just got a dog from the San Francisco SPCA, and apparently there's a program through the SPCA to help veterans adopt dogs and cats, mm-hmm. and they actually have a training program to have them work with the dogs and cats, you know, to sort of get used to having an animal in the house.
Yes.
And with the dogs, they have sort of, you know, training, behavior training, which I think is really a great idea, because it gives the people, you know, the veterans, a chance to kind of be responsible for something else. And also,
it's a companion.
Animals are so wonderful because they're so willing to just accept us for who we are.
Yes.
And I think that must be a great thing for them. I know it is for me.
You have a dog?
Oh, a dog and a cat.
A dog and a cat.
A dog and a cat.
All right together.
Yes. And ironically, the veterans met my dog, and I think that's what got a lot of them interested in getting a dog. They met my dog. I took them to something that they were at, and everybody was like down on the floor hugging them. And I thought, yeah, you know, that unconditional love that we all look for, it would be a great thing.
What kind of dog do you have?
She's a pound puppy, so she's Corgi, Pit Bull, Bull Terrier, Jack Russell, and Beagle.
Wow.
And she looks like a combination of all those dogs. Yeah, she looks like she's pretty cute.
That's cute. That's cute.
So.
Now, what do you have upcoming classes for the new, we start next year?
We start next year. Our spring semester starts in January, which is kind of hard to imagine, but there it is. And so spring semester, we actually have 4 classes that are being offered with an emphasis on issues of interest to veterans. So we have, what we're trying to do is make the sequence of classes in the English department at least, veteran friendly.
Yes.
And so that, as we said, 2 or 3 people will sign up and then the success rate would be better. So we have the first level is English 96, which is pre-1A. The second level is 1A, which people know is what, you know, the first half of what you need to graduate. And then 1B, which is the literature class. And then there's a creative writing class in the works that would be an opportunity for veterans to write about their own experiences in a creative writing fashion, poetry, short stories.
Good, good. Well, I hope you know some veterans who have children, because I want to interview some of these veterans so that the children can write and tell us their feelings about how they felt when their mother or father came back from the war.
What an absolutely wonderful idea.
So do you have some veterans like this?
Yes, and many of the veterans, I think, that's the great thing with their children. I think that when they come to school and they study, you know, creative writing or something, and then they go back and then their children are in school and they're writing poems and things, I think there's a great bond. I know my one student told me he studies with his daughter, and that he's doing his homework when she's doing her homework.
Oh, how nice.
And I think that's a great thing, because you become a role model also that way.
Certainly, certainly.
You know, you show that education's important.
Yes.
And you know, you also show you never stop learning.
That's right. Now the second half, we're going to have you read a poem maybe you've written about the war. Is that, or somebody else?
I have not. I teach poetry in my lit class, of course, and I have some poems that I have brought from my textbook. But I have a poem from a friend of mine that was read at the poetry program that the veterans just recently did for Veterans Day. They had a poetry program, and my former, well, he's still my friend, but my friend from grade school wrote this poem in honor of his friend who was killed in Vietnam. And they were both officers. And he sent it to me and asked me if I would read it, and then I had one of the veterans read it. And it was just a great opportunity to sort of bring the past and the present together. Oh,
but isn't it sad we still have war going on after all of these years?
And the stories are the same.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, Carol, and then we're going to come back. We're going to have you show some things that you've brought and read a few poems.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, and now, boys and girls, and ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're coming back with the second half of our program. Don't turn those TVs off. We'll be back in just a moment. And now, Carol, I understand that you brought a wonderful poem that one of your friends wrote, and you're going to read that for us, right?
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and yes, I am.
Yes, please.
Thank you. My friend Jim McPhillips, who was my childhood friend, was an officer in Vietnam, and when he found out that I was advising the veterans, and I told him we were doing a poetry reading for Veterans Day, he asked if I would read this poem that he had written in honor of his fallen comrade, another officer. And I was going to do it, and then I talked to Ryan Law, who's one of the students in my class, who's a former Marine, whose job it was to go to the homes of people whose family members had been lost in action and tell them. And so he read the poem, and Jim McPhillips, my friend, was so honored to feel that another soldier had done honor to his comrade and also to him. He wrote him a long letter and said, "You have done this not just for me and you, but for all the other soldiers who have been lost in battle." So Jim's notes are, Tom was a fellow officer and my best friend with whom I graduated officer candidate school. We were assigned to the same unit after graduation. In this operation in Vietnam that I write about, he was leading his platoon on one flank and I was leading my platoon on the other when battle started. My friend Tom. Oh, Tom, of Delaware born, a brave young man I shall ever mourn. A life so briefly spent on earth, I wonder what potential gave you birth. Your smile lit up every room you entered. You captivated every crowd you centered. A life so enlivened with spirit and zest. How cruel the fates that laid you to rest. On that mournful day, our platoons in flank, my life was changed into a numbing blank. The cries and screams over the radio I heard. I listened in helplessness to the senseless word. A commander leading a company astray into a field of mines that deadly day. Oh, Tom, I heard your cries for help as the medevac wash triggered explosions with stealth. Your voice went silent as the bombs exploded, never more to brighten the world you enlivened. To Washington I journeyed to visit the wall. I touched your name and prayed for all. To the ages you belong, forever young and bright. A piece of my heart goes with you in flight. In life as I travel, your spirit in mind, I will see you always as good and kind. Farewell, my friend. In peace may you sleep, ever knowing you're missed till life shall cease.
Wonderful. Wasn't that touching?
You know, he wrote this, and he's not a poet. He's a regular guy who wanted to express his feelings, and that's what's so wonderful about poetry.
Yes.
If you can find a way to get that out and put it on paper and look at it and show it to other people,
yes,
it's a great gift.
It certainly is.
It's a great gift.
It certainly is. Now, did you have another you want to share with us?
I did, and I thought, you know, if possible, it's not really a poem about war, but it's a poem that I think somehow, when I think of war, I think of this poem. Okay. And you probably have heard it many times. It's Paul Laurence Dunbar's poem, Sympathy.
Oh, yes.
The cage bird line is the one that Maya Angelou chose for the title of her book. So in Paul Laurence Dunbar, Sympathy. I know what the cage bird feels, alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass. When the first bird sings, and the first bud opes, and the faint perfume from its chalice steals, I know what the cage bird feels. I know why the cage bird beats his wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars. For he must fly back to his perch and cling when he fain would be on the bough a swing. And a pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. I know why the cage bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and would be free. It is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the cage bird sings.
Yes, isn't that wonderful?
And I think the idea that he called it sympathy is that you know, a soldier has sympathy for another soldier. We must develop that somehow inside of us for other human beings.
Yes.
And we must, maybe we need to feel pain so that we can develop sympathy. And if people can develop that common bond and see that in each other, we would be much kinder to each other.
I think so too. I think so too.
I think so. And I think the world would be a much better place.
Oh, yes, yes.
We
now,
all have
before
things.
we end the program, is there anything else you'd like to put out to our watching audience, especially veterans who might be watching and might be interested in City College of San Francisco?
I would tell them to please come and enroll and come to the Veterans Lounge, come to the Veterans Resource Center, come back to school, use this opportunity not just to get an education, but also to meet people who have common interests and goals, and to use whatever support services the community can offer, community college being just one, because we really owe it to them, you know, to the people who have done so much for us. We owe something to them, and I think this is an opportunity with education to give veterans and all young people a chance to make the world a better place as the years progress. You know, we need as many smart people and informed people and sensitized people as we can, and community college is a great place to start.
It certainly is.
And City College would welcome them.
And about how many veterans do you think you've helped?
Well, we have, at this point, we have about 1,200 to almost 1,300 veterans enrolled.
That many?
Yes, and we're expecting more. San Francisco State, I think, has 800 that I know of. But, you know, with the change in the policy now and the many people who are coming home, we will have more veterans everywhere just in our population.
Yes.
And I think that most of us, just an awareness of what it is that we can do to make things better.
Well, dear, we're out of time, and I want to thank you for this wonderful interview. And I hope all our watching audience will call City College and help our veterans.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to have us here and represented.
Okay, and without further ado, let's tell our watching audience goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
And thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.